why did you run, and why did you run now? I mean, you could have run in previous cycles. You could have done other things like just volunteer. What was it about this moment that said to you, like, it's time to throw my hat in the ring? Mike?
Well, when I introduce myself, I am a retired Marine. I'm also married to a retired Marine. So you can imagine how lousy our son's life was, having both mom and dad in the Marine Corps. But you know, we've been farming here in Kentucky for the last 15 years, trying to mind our own business pretty much. And it was the realization for me that Donald Trump is a symptom and Mitch McConnell and people like him are the problem. And that they do not care about the Constitution, and they don't care about the future of the Republic. They care about money and power. And I know we live in the time of superlatives, but it's an existential threat to our democracy and our Constitution, our way of life. And as someone who swore an oath to defend the Constitution, my wife and I talked about this and said, you are uniquely positioned as a farmer, as someone who's taught in public schools here, as a retired combat veteran, to take out Mitch McConnell. And it's a duty. And so about a year ago, we made the decision and launched my campaign in July, and just been running flat out at him ever since.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that one, Mike. Like everything you said makes a ton of sense to me. People make that argument often that, oh, this is the most important election. You know, this is the one that matters. I'm just curious, like you could have run 6 years ago or 10 years ago. You'd have just as interesting and impressive a record. What was it about this moment in time that you said, I just cannot watch. I have to make a run at it? Because it was an improbable choice that you're going up against the Darth Vader of the Senate, pretty much.
Well, I mean, you may spot a trend, but I hadn't been a farmer either. And my wife and I were on active duty. We came to Kentucky, and 3 days later, we owned a farm. And so you may see a trend where we make a decision, we do things. But it was the actual idea of, I think the nation might survive 4 more years of Trump, but we cannot survive 6 more years of Trump and McConnell. This toxic transactional relationship where Trump's allowed to be himself and McConnell gets to pack the federal bench and give tax breaks to his buddies and donors. I don't want to overstate it, but I honestly felt that the Republic would not survive. We would not recognize this country 4 years from now or 6 years from now. And that's why it's a combination of Trump and McConnell that said, I don't think we will make it. I don't think we will know the country that we come out of on the other end of this if I didn't take a crack at McConnell and knock him out. Thanks.
Yeah, that Trump-McConnell combination is quite a cocktail. So
that's a word for it.
Who else wants to share why they said, I got to do this. I have to do it, and I have to do it now. Jermaine, you just unmuted, sure, so I'm guessing that's you.
Yeah. I'm going to jump on in there. So I kind of felt like, this was the time because the person who's actually in my district now does not represent what my district is now. Tom, he's 85 years old. We talked about this. And, my district is, mainly rural. And it's got a lot of young African-Americans in this district, as well as elder African-Americans. So the guy who I'm running against is an 85-year-old white guy who has been there for 20 plus years. And it's just time for a change. It's time to pass on that torch. I'm in favor of term limits because, I don't think that, one person should have a monopoly on a seat and believe that it's his seat forever. I believe the best leaders are the ones that on their first day getting into office, they start searching for a successor immediately to start training them up and bringing them along. So after seeing Yang come from this unconventional type of position, running for office, running for president, he was a no-namer. And, when he came to South Carolina the first time, nobody knew who he was, man. He was walking down the street. One guy was like, who is this guy? Why has he got cameras following him? And I'm like, hell, he's running for president. And they were like, president of Charleston? And I was like, no, man, like president of the United States of America. And he went from that to, who he is now. And I just believe that, he just inspired me that, we can start from the bottom and go all the way to the top, man. We can make it run at this. And even if we don't win, we can still, have some very positive changes in our communities.
Right on. What about you, Jonathan or Heidi? Do you guys want to share the decision to run?
So I'll say I might be the only one here who could not have run sooner because I am turning 25 in a month. So this was the first time I could. But I mean, like all of you, the urgency of this moment is not past me. 26 million people are unemployed. 50,000 Americans have died. I'm in the epicenter of this, in New York City, where more than 1 million are unemployed. More than 10,000 have died in New York City alone. Congress is still on recess. I mean, the outrage, the sense of the utter disbelief in what shambles of a system and a country that our representatives have left us amidst this global pandemic. And on the backdrop of this fourth industrial revolution, we need representatives across the board who understand the structural crises we're facing and have a vision to tackle them head on. So that's why I'm running, and that's why it's so awesome to see all of you in the arena, because Lord knows we need strong visionary leadership at this moment in time.
Thanks, Jonathan. I guess you could not legally could not have run earlier.
I literally could not.
You put that law degree to use. What about you, Heidi? How did you, I mean, when you were on Nerds for Yang, the previous name of this channel, we were just fellow YangGang trying to spread the word, volunteering as we can. And here you are with Oregon -1, like, got a blazer on. It's how did that happen?
I felt like it was my duty and responsibility to my country, to be honest. I mean, I didn't feel like I could, be such a supporter of Andrew's message and the urgency that, he was expressing, that we really need to have policies like this in place, especially universal basic income. I mean, when you understand it at that deep level and when everything clicks and how badly this country needs this, that we absolutely need to abolish poverty, that we absolutely cannot, continue on having people homeless, starving, unable to transition at different periods of their life. When you're an LGBT person who grows up and understands that, your family or your parents might not always want you around. And if you had a basic income, you could have, done so many different things with your life or felt that security. And when you see that 40% of homeless youth are LGBT, and you're just looking at all of the facts and going over your whole life and understanding how this would have changed everything for you and so many people that and that we don't have time. We don't have any more time left to get these things done. And that was the message that I got from Andrew Yang. It was just, hey, this is for the normal people. There is a war happening on the average, ordinary American, and that's wrong. And if you don't stand up and do something about it, then what are you doing? And for me, when he left the race, I mean, how could I listen to him talking about how we need to bring that wave to Washington and how Washington doesn't understand this type of thing? And it's clearly obvious. How could I not do something? And to run just felt the most natural to me in that moment. There was other things that I, of course, could have done, but I didn't see, my representative here in District 1 fighting for these things. And I felt compelled to bring that message to my district because I know people need it here. I know that we need it all across the whole country. And I just had to do it. It's my responsibility at this point in time. And I couldn't have predicted that coronavirus and all of this would be happening. But it just makes it even more clear. It just was energizing me even more to keep going. And, it's sometimes you just feel that responsibility in life and you feel a duty to serve. And that's what I look at it as. This is my chance to serve. I wasn't in the military before like Mike. I didn't have certain chances to serve, but this was my opportunity. This was my moment to actually help the country. And that's why I felt compelled. I had to do it.
Right on. I mean, I think you're all making a really strong point about the relevance of basic income. I mean, it was always something that folks who were supporting Andrew Yang saw as an important kind of investment for the country. But now with this coronavirus crisis and probably the deep recession that we're going to see for a while, it seems even more important. I'm curious, when you talk to your constituents, it's easy to look at the federal level at like, okay, unemployment rate is this, and there's this many people filing for unemployment, and there's these, stimulus packages going out. But when you're on the ground talking to folks locally, what are you hearing and seeing in terms of the impact of this coronavirus on your district or your state, and what do you think we should be doing about it?